Hello there, and a very warm welcome back to episode 3 of NDI TV, the channel that is dedicated to all things NDI. I am your host Renato, and on this week's episode I will be speaking with Igloovision, an exciting company which is pioneering fully immersive VR and 3D projection experiences using the power of NDI. Then, on this week's Did You Know, we will hear how you can use the Ndi Scan Converter, part of the free Ndi Tools, to bring PowerPoints into your live productions. But first, let's hear from Igloovision. Hi guys, lovely to speak to you today. Could you just quickly tell me, James, about your role in the company?
Sure. My background is a software engineer, and so I started off writing all of the software and the software platform. But these days I'm back heading up the Asia Pacific, and so I spent a bit of time over in the UK, and now I've come back to Australia, where I look after kind of the business development here. And
Harvey, can you tell me about your role, please?
Yeah, so I kind of picked up where James left off on the software side, and I run the software team here in London.
Great. James, I have a question for you. Can you tell me and the viewers about Igloovision and the kind of projects you're known for?
Sure. Yeah, we're known for immersive shared VR. So we've mainly been based around projection displays, but more recently LED walls as well. And our spaces are used for things like events and trade shows with our range of pop-up, off-the-shelf solutions. But these days we'll be doing a lot more installs, like lecture theatres. And the spaces are used for a huge range of things. Music venues, conference rooms, training facilities, visualization suites and much more. And the big thing that really sets us apart is that we kind of do end-to-end. So we do the consulting, the design of the spaces, but we also program the software platform that drives it. And whilst we used to manage installs ourselves, these days we kind of work a lot more with AV integrators.
And what's it like to actually step inside one of the Igloos versus, say, a VR experience?
So stepping inside an Igloo, it's like, as you mentioned, a giant VR headset. So as an example, we can be transported to something like an oil and gas facility, and we're standing here in 360. So it's a much more kind of communal experience than a VR headset. We can kind of gesture, we can point, we can interact with things as well. And so it's all about kind of transporting people to different locations. So that might be something like transporting someone to a refinery, somewhere where it's a dangerous place to go. It's hard to get a large group of people, or to get school groups or universities, or something that maybe not even built yet. So a good example is something like visualization for real estate and construction. So it's all about kind of jumping people into this space, then also bringing in tools like you might bring in the construction plan over here. You might use NDI to kind of share remote cameras from a building site and bring all that into kind of the space.
Wow, it certainly looks incredibly impressive. I'd love to experience it one day. Harvey, where does NDI fit into the picture?
Yeah, so we use NDI actually throughout quite a wide range of areas throughout our business. As James mentioned, we come from a kind of an events background as a business, but we've more recently been doing lots more permanent installations. So on the event side, one of the first uses we found for NDI was actually in presentations. So people often want to do kind of basic things, just showing PowerPoint presentations. Our old method for this would have been to capture display outputs from multiple machines and then composite them back together on the software side. But this is very prone to errors with capture cards failing last minute or video cables failing. We've since moved to NDI, and we can create a single span display and stream that. So it's really simplified things on the event side. So on the permanent installation side, one of the most used use cases for NDI we found is just simple laptop screen sharing. So on the installations previously, we would have had to consider where to run cables, and then people would turn up with a laptop and plug it in. And typically they would plug it in and the frame rate or resolution wouldn't be supported. So now we can just give away the Ndi Scan Converter tool and people can just do it themselves.
Right. I was actually going to ask you about that. How have you been using the Ndi Tools suite?
Yeah, so we added the Ndi Tools SDK into our software suite back in 2016. And the initial driver for this was to allow people to use the Ndi Scan Converter and share their screens. But since then, we started exploring what other Ndi Tools integrations are out there. And we came across the Creative Cloud plugin. And what this allowed us to do is stream the canvas output from After Effects directly into an Igloo. And this has been really useful for content creators. Typically, working with the huge Igloo screen resolutions, we're dealing with massive video files and lengthy exports and kind of lengthy sharing times for videos. Now, content creators can come into an Igloo, with their laptop, stream from After Effects, and preview content in real time and make edits in real time. And this avoids lengthy exports of really huge video files. We then decided to take this a step further, and we thought, okay, what if you don't have access to an Igloo? So we created a Unity plugin, a Unity application using the NDI Unity plugin. And instead of streaming to an Igloo, they can stream directly into an application which we send out to them, and they can preview their content on 3D models of the different Igloo structures. And this has vastly improved the kind of quality of content we've been receiving from content creators.
Right. Wow. Impressive stuff. How has the business had to adapt since COVID hit?
With our spaces all being about kind of the shared VR experience, COVID's obviously had a pretty big impact. Things like in-person events aren't happening, and our permanent installs just can't do large group presentations anymore. So things are still happening. It just meant that everything's moved online. So the spaces are now being used for remote teaching, webinar studios, things like hybrid events where you're connecting remote, just smaller groups. But it's also had some real challenges, not just for our clients and the type of things that we're doing. A lot of our installs have had to go remote. So instead of being able to send install staff to a different country or even state here in Australia, we've had to kind of talk people through it, be it clients or AV integrators. And so with NDI being a single cable, just to plug things in, it's made it a world easier to kind of explain what needs to be done, to diagram it. But it's also meant it's a lot easier for people to do this. A lot of our previous installs don't have optical cable runs or SDI or anything like that. And so you can use existing infrastructure like floor boxes in ceiling. And so it's just meant it's been, I guess, a lot easier for people to kind of turn their spaces into TV studios and things like that.
Okay, I think you have a couple of case studies you want to share with us. I heard something about Deakin University in Adelaide, is that correct?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things we've been doing is that kind of, face-to-face learning. And so you can kind of see here, being able to have a huge big video wall and have that face-to-face interaction with students. One of the things that's been quite hard, I think, with remote teaching, having that kind of small video grid and lecturers not being able to really see what's going on. We've kind of adapted a lot of our spaces like Deakin and University of Adelaide to enable that same sort of face-to-face learning. And it's been great. I've joined some of these lectures, and when you join in and you can kind of see that connection of like eye contact with people, there's a real kind of flow. When you have a nurse in a space and she's there with a medical dummy or something, and she's saying, does everyone understand? And you see the whole wall of people, everyone nods. It's really easy for the lecturer to get a sense that everyone understands what they're talking about. And it's really, I think, help people kind of connect with their classes again.
Yeah, have you had any good feedback from lecturers and students in particular?
Yeah, I think it's means that I think it's been quite hard for people to focus. And it's worked both ways. When everyone realizes they're up on the wall in front of everyone, it meant that they pay more attention. They're not staring at their phone or anything like that. But then for the lecturers as well, just that understanding that everyone kind of, when you see everyone nod together, that, they know what's going on. You can continue on to the next thing. There's no kind of pause and try and scan a small grid of people or ask everyone to speak out individually as to what's going on.
So Harvey, a question for you. Where do you see the future of IP video heading, and do you think it will be with NDI? Absolutely,
I see NDI being the future of IP video. I think it's quite clear that the number of integrations, both software and hardware, are growing seemingly exponentially right now. And I think in a large part this is due to NDI's very open approach about giving away the SDK for free. And we've now got this kind of growing ecosystem of applications and devices which are all talking the same NDI language, and it just shows no sign of slowing down right now. That compounded with the kind of continued development of the NDI product, we're seeing constant performance improvements. I read recently that NVIDIA are starting to support hardware accelerated encoding, so that's really going to push things forwards even further. And then there's also things that we haven't even thought about yet, which I'm sure will continue to come out as we move forward. So yeah, exciting stuff.
It's certainly an exciting time to be in your field, definitely. Just one more question. Are you guys working on anything exclusive or any exciting projects you want to share with us today on NDI TV?
Yeah, I can show a little bit. So one of the things that we've been trying to do is make it a bit easier for someone like lecturers to really control what's going on. So what you can see here is an early interface that we have for controlling scenes in OBS. And at the moment, whilst they're just kind of placeholder images, we're looking at doing the preview stream from NDI. And so what we can trigger here is not just the camera, but we can also go and when we trigger that scene, it'll also then trigger the PTZ preset on the camera as well. So that means that we can easily have a lecturer kind of control something where they know what's going on. So they can easily jump from one camera to another camera. But yeah, also bringing in things like wide angle cameras. But I think one of the things I mentioned before, the power of bringing in kind of huge different aspect ratios. And so I'll just show you one example. So we have our editing computer out the back, and that's 4 ultra-wide monitors. And so it's quite powerful when we can actually, I think, bring that in. And one of the things that I think is quite different for NDI is that, we've gone past standard kind of aspect ratios from broadcast.
Right.
And so what you can see here is those 4 ultra-wide displays brought in real time. We've kind of got our Skype call, OBS, our audio mixing. And so that can be kind of any number of things. We've brought in game engines running on another machine and 360 content brought in for that. And so it really just allows you to kind of do all your processing on a kind of cluster of machines, tie it all together and bring it back to that editing machine, and then bring it in here to do, kind of a live cross, or things like Harvey mentioned, bringing in your After Effects stream and doing your color balancing in the space as well. And it's just, I think, amazing that you can bring in those streams with such little latency and just have them all there sitting on the network.
Simple and convenient. That sounds great. All right, gents, thank you so much for your time today on NDI TV. You have a wonderful day ahead.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
I'm Kane Peterson, and I want to show you one of the applications included with the Ndi Tools software package, Ndi Scan Converter. Ndi Scan Converter allows you to share your computer screen as a live NDI output. You can use this to share PowerPoint, websites, or computer applications. But it's not limited to just slide sharing. Ndi Scan Converter is a high-performance screen sharing application, powerful enough for even esports game capture. Here we have the Windows version. I've already started Ndi Scan Converter from the Start menu, and you can see its application icon by the clock. If we right-click on this blue icon, you'll see some options up here. To start with, we can choose how the signal should be shared. The first setting establishes the frame rate of the output signal. This is important as many computer displays do not match broadcast rates. Use this option so your computer will collaborate with your video production format. Below this, you can define a single region of interest. If you have an application that only fills part of the screen, use this option to remove the empty aspects of the display. Only content inside the window frame will be visible in the NDI signal. The audio source allows you to choose the sound to be included with the video. This can be the system's audio output, a microphone input, or set to silence. Not only can you see the video, but you can hear the audio of your computer as well. Once we have the tool configured, it will create an NDI feed for each display on your system. The displays do have to be active. Ndi Scan Converter doesn't create virtual monitors. It shares what is active on the system. For example, on a laptop, you might have 2 screens set up, the laptop's built-in display and a secondary monitor connected to its HDMI output. Using Ndi Scan Converter, we can see each of these computer desktops as an individual source. Let's take a look at the Ndi Scan Converter output coming from another computer so we can see it in action. Here's my laptop. As you can see, it is sharing multiple displays. Currently, display 2 is showing a PowerPoint deck. I can see the output of the slides via NDI, while the speaker can see the presenter interface on the main monitor as they navigate through the deck. In fact, since both screens are shared, I can get the PowerPoint presenter interface as a separate NDI signal output if needed. Ndi Scan Converter can access your computer's webcam. This allows you to choose a connected webcam and microphone audio source to create as a secondary signal. For example, I could capture not only the PowerPoint slides, but also the local webcam as 2 separate sources. Here, I'm using a TriCaster to take these 2 feeds and composite them together over an animated background. Another convenient and powerful feature is Ndi Kvm. With this option enabled, not only can we see the desktop of the remote system, but it can be controlled remotely as well. This allows for high frame rate, low latency remote control of systems across your local network. Using Ndi Studio Monitor, you can see an Ndi Kvm button appears when you connect to a source that supports Ndi Kvm. When the button is blue, you can control the mouse and keyboard of the other system. Here you can see a NewTek talk show system. I've set up Ndi Scan Converter to automatically start when this system boots up. This makes its interface available as a source on the network, and I can control it to make adjustments or even allow complete operation. Ndi Scan Converter is available on the Macintosh. Here we can see the desktop of my MacBook Pro. The Mac version of Ndi Scan Converter doesn't have all the features found in the Windows version, like Ndi Kvm or the webcam support, but it will allow the sharing of the desktop video and an audio source. There is also an option for the visibility of the mouse pointer. As you can see, Ndi Scan Converter is a powerful tool included with the Ndi Tools software package. Many live events need to include computer displays, be it for information, training, or entertainment, making this tool a useful addition for any Ndi workflows. Download Ndi Tools for free from ndi.tv.
So that's it for today on Ndi TV, but remember to keep checking back with us to keep up to date with everything that's happening in the world of Ndi. And if you haven't already, why not experience the power of Ndi for yourself for absolutely free? Visit ndi.tv and click on Ndi Tools at the top of the page. Inside, you'll find a suite of applications allowing you to send and receive Ndi signals on both PC and Mac. And if you're a developer or a manufacturer and are ready to add Ndi support to your products, you can download the Ndi Sdk at ndi.tv as well. This royalty-free software developers kit offers access to all the tools and resources you'll need to integrate native Ndi support into your software, as well as the Ndi embedded development kit for all your products like cameras, converters, monitors, and more. I'd like to thank both James and Harvey from Igloovision for joining us today, and of course a big thank you to you for watching. Until we meet again on the next episode of Ndi TV.